What if the most responsible decision you ever made was quietly destroying your wealth? Not because you invested badly, not because the market crashed, but because you played it safe. Here's something most people never calculate. Holding too much cash can cost you around 7% every single year. Not in fees, not in losses, in invisible, silent, missed growth. Have you ever done this? Kept a large chunk of money in savings, just in case? Most of us have. It feels responsible, it feels smart, but by the end of this video, you're going to see why that feeling might be the most expensive instinct you have. Meet Alex. He's 32, solid job, pays his bills, and he has $40,000 sitting in a savings account. To everyone around him, Alex looks disciplined, but what nobody sees is the hundreds of thousands of dollars he's losing right now in slow motion. This isn't a story about market crashes. It isn't about bad investments. It's about a decision that feels completely safe and quietly costs more than almost any financial mistake you could make. Stay with me, because the math, when you finally see it, is going to change how you think about every dollar you're holding. Here's where it all starts, with advice that's actually correct. You've heard it your whole life. Build an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, keep it accessible, keep it safe. And that advice, it's genuinely good. It's one of the smartest financial habits you can build. The problem isn't the advice. The problem is what people do after they follow it. Alex runs the numbers. His monthly expenses are $3,000. That means his real emergency fund should be somewhere between $9,000 and $18,000. That's it. That's the number. But Alex has $40,000 in savings. And here's what makes this so dangerous. He has a reason for every dollar. Markets are risky. Cash is safe. I'll invest when things settle down. Maybe after the election. Maybe after the economy stabilizes. Maybe after the next raise. Do you recognize this? If you do, you are not alone. Alex isn't reckless. He isn't irresponsible. He's doing exactly what he was taught. He grew up watching the 2008 crisis through the adults around him, and every headline since then just reinforced one belief. Cash is king. Savings is smart. Investing is gambling. So the money sits. Now here's the stat that might stop you cold. Only 55% of people have even 3 months of expenses saved. More than half don't have enough cash. Yet Alex, he has more than twice what he actually needs. Think about that. The same advice, save more, created two completely opposite problems. One group doesn't save enough. The other group saves way too much. And both are quietly losing. The advice was never wrong. The execution is where it breaks down. So where's the line? How much cash is actually too much? To answer that, we need to look at a number most people never calculate. There is a cost that will never show up on your bank statement. No fee, no alert, no red number. It accumulates silently, every single month, while your money sits perfectly still. It has a name: opportunity cost. And for people holding too much cash, it runs at roughly 7% per year. Here's exactly where that number comes from. The stock market has returned an average of about 10% per year over the long term. A good high-yield savings account? Around 3%. The gap between those two numbers is 7%. 7% every year on every idle dollar. Now, before you say, that doesn't sound like much, pause. That instinct is exactly the trap. 7% sounds like a rounding error, something you can make up for later. But what if that 7% difference quietly costs you over $100,000 across your lifetime? Would that change how you see it? Here's where it gets even more striking. Research shows self-directed investors, everyday people managing their own money, hold about 20% of their portfolio in cash on average. 20%. Financial experts say the right number is closer to 5%. That gap, the extra 15% sitting idle, is where the damage lives. That is the silent tax, the invisible annual fee you pay for the comfort of seeing a large number in your savings account. So let me ask you this. Would you rather have $15,000 actively working for you at 10% or $40,000 sitting still at 3%? Most people assume the bigger number wins. The math says otherwise. It still doesn't feel fully real? The numbers in isolation rarely do, but the moment you run the compounding math, the results are genuinely hard to look away from. Let's make this concrete. $10,000. That's the only number we need. You take $10,000 today and put it in a savings account earning 4% per year. You don't touch it. You just let it sit. After 10 years, you have $14,800. Okay, not bad. Your money grew. After 20 years, $21,900. After 30 years, $32,000. 3 times your money over 3 decades. Most people look at that and think, that's pretty good, responsible saving. Now, same $10,000, same starting date, but this time you put it in a broad market index fund, earning the historical average of 10% per year. After 10 years, $25,900. Not $14,800, $25,900, and we're only at year 10. After 20 years, $67,000. Can you imagine that? The same money, twice as long, already at $67,000? After 30 years, $174,000. Stop. Read that again. $174,000 from the same $10,000, the same 30 years, one decision made once at the beginning. The difference between those two paths? $142,000. This isn't just math. This is decades of freedom you're either building or quietly giving away. That gap is early retirement. That gap is your kids' education paid off. That gap is the life at 62 that you're either creating right now or quietly handing to someone else. Can you imagine watching $142,000 disappear without ever seeing it leave your account? Now, apply this to Alex. He has $20,000 sitting in savings beyond what he actually needs. Just $20,000, idle, for 30 years. In savings at 4%, around $64,000. In the market at 10%, around $348,000. The gap is nearly $284,000. Not lost to a crash, not lost to a bad investment, lost to doing absolutely nothing. And here's the part that makes this hardest to swallow. You might be thinking, what if I invest at the wrong time? What if the market drops right after I put money in? Here's the answer. Even investors who bought at the absolute worst moments, right before 2000, right before 2008, still came out significantly ahead of people who held cash over the same period. The math doesn't care about timing. The math cares about one thing: whether you showed up. So if the numbers have always been this clear, why do smart, disciplined people like Alex still end up here? Because the biggest financial mistakes never feel like mistakes. They feel like caution. They feel like wisdom. They feel like exactly the right thing to do. And that is what makes them so impossible to catch from the inside. Coming up, we're going to look at exactly why your brain steers you straight into this trap. And if you recognize yourself in any of what's coming, you're already closer to fixing it than you think. Here's what nobody tells you. This is not a math problem. If it were, it would already be solved. The math is simple. It's been simple for decades. You can run it in 2 minutes on any calculator. Yet millions of people still hoard cash. This is a psychology problem, and it's a powerful one. The first force is status signaling. Think about the last time someone said, "I have a big savings account." What was your reaction? Respect? Admiration? They've got their life together. Nobody reacts that way when someone mentions their index fund allocation. But "I've got $50,000 in savings," that turns heads. Cash hoarding is socially rewarded in a way that smart investing almost never is. Have you felt that? That quiet pride in a high savings balance? That feeling has a cost. The second force is loss aversion. Psychology research shows this repeatedly. Losing a dollar feels about twice as painful as gaining a dollar feels good. So when people picture investing, they don't calculate 10% annual returns. They feel what it would be like to watch their account drop 30% in a crash. That feeling, not the logic, the feeling is what drives the decision, and it's powerful enough to override everything else. The third force is herd mentality. If your parents kept money in savings, you probably will too. If your friends treat investing like gambling, the data won't change your mind. We are wired, deeply, evolutionarily wired, to mirror the behavior of the people around us. That instinct kept our ancestors alive. In modern finance, it quietly bleeds your future dry. And then there's recency bias. Alex didn't read about 2008. He absorbed it. Through his parents, through neighbors who lost their homes, through adults who stopped trusting the market. Those emotional memories don't fade like facts. They stick. And every time the market dips even slightly, they flood back. So Alex delays. Months turn into years, years turn into a decade. But here's the one nobody wants to say out loud. Even while all of this is happening, inflation never stops. Every year, it quietly erodes the purchasing power of your money. Your savings account earns 3 to 4%. Inflation runs at 2 to 3% historically. In real terms, your safe money is barely breaking even. And in a high inflation year, it's actively shrinking. So ask yourself honestly, is your cash actually safe, or is it just losing slowly instead of losing fast? There is a difference between visible safety and actual safety. Cash gives you the first one, almost never the second. Before we get into the solution, one reminder. Every month you don't make this change, that 7% drag keeps running. The compounding gap keeps widening. The version of you at 62 who has $174,000 versus $32,000 is being decided right now, in decisions that feel completely inconsequential. The good news? The framework is simple. 3 steps. That's it. Step 1. Build your real emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of actual expenses. Put it in a high-yield savings account. Keep it liquid. Keep it protected. Then stop adding to it. This money has exactly one job: protect you from emergencies. The moment it's funded, it's done. Step 2. Invest everything beyond that. Not eventually, not when the economy feels calmer, not after the next raise, or the right moment that never comes. Now. Because time in the market, even imperfect, nervous, badly timed entry, has historically beaten waiting every single time. Imagine starting at 32 instead of 42. That single decade of compounding, starting earlier, could be worth more than everything you save from 42 to 52. That is not an exaggeration. That is how compounding works. Step 3. Keep your cash allocation inside your investment portfolio to 5 to 10% maximum. Enough to stay flexible, enough to take advantage of opportunities. Not so much that you're running a slow, silent drag on everything else. This is exactly what Alex does. He recalculates his real emergency fund, $15,000, fully protected. He takes the remaining $25,000 and moves it into a low-cost index fund. Then he sets up automatic monthly contributions, so the decision to invest doesn't require willpower or perfect timing. It just happens. He doesn't wait for a dip. He doesn't try to read the market. He starts. That's the entire secret. Not genius, not perfect timing, just starting.
What would your financial life look like if your money grew at 10% a year instead of 3%? Don't let that slide past as a rhetorical question. Sit with it. Run your own numbers, because the answer might be the most important calculation you do this year.
Here's everything that matters one last time. An emergency fund is essential. 3 to 6 months of real expenses sitting safely in a savings account. That money is doing its job perfectly. Don't touch it. But every dollar beyond that, sitting idle in cash, is losing 7% in potential growth every single year, silently, without a single notification from your bank. Cash isn't dangerous because it crashes. It's dangerous because it does nothing, while everything around it quietly compounds. $10,000 in savings for 30 years, $32,000. $10,000 in the market for 30 years, $174,000. Same money, same time. One decision. So here's the real question, and I want you to actually think about this tonight. How much of your money is working for you while you sleep? Because somewhere in your accounts right now, there is money that should be growing, money that is capable of becoming something significant, money that is choosing to do nothing because you haven't told it otherwise yet. The people who build wealth don't have better timing. They don't have better luck. They just stopped letting their money sit still. And if you think hoarding cash is the only wealth-building trap, it isn't. The next one is sneakier. It's investing in the wrong assets entirely. Assets that look smart, sound legitimate, and quietly underperform for decades while you assume everything is fine. That's exactly what we're breaking down next. You won't want to skip it.